Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy, Pigsky and Pete. Happy Sunday to everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying their NFL football day. So, the breaking news, I'm sure you've all heard by now. Head coach Willie Taggart from Florida State University got his walking papers today. I can't say I'm surprised. I think we all saw this coming. I'm not usually a big fan of these universities letting these coaches go so early in their tenure. I think that when you take over a bad program, you need to give these guys time to get their staff in there, get their players in there, yada yada yada, the whole 9 yards. The difference here is that Willie Taggart took over from Jimbo Fisher, easily the second most talented team in the ACC. He's got a team full of 5 stars and 4 stars, NFL players all over the field. They're pitiful. They're regressing instead of progressing. They're probably, not probably, they clearly are the most undisciplined football team in America. Embarrassing to the university, embarrassing to the league, and embarrassing to Willie Taggart. So I'm not surprised that he got let go. If you look around the ACC, and maybe not even just the ACC, but certainly let's just take a snapshot of the ACC coaching changes, because there was a lot of them in the past couple of years, right? We've got Willie Taggart was one of them. Manny Diaz at Miami, Satterfield for Louisville, Jeff Collins for Georgia Tech, Mac Brown at North Carolina. These are all coaching changes that have happened within the past year or two. And when you look at what's going on at Louisville, right? So Petrino drove Louisville's program into the ground. I mean, he had a couple of good years there with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes away, and they win 2 games last year. They were just a complete dumpster fire. Satterfield comes in there, a coach from Appalachian State, and Louisville is a renewed team. They have a whole renewed purpose, a whole new culture there, and they're playing like a completely different team than they were a year ago. So that was a quick turnaround. Now, Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech, who I think is going to be great, by the way. But even he took over a triple option team, and he's trying to do something different. He's trying to do a pro style / spread offense. So it's going to take him some time. But even Georgia Tech just looks like they're playing with more purpose than what they were a year ago. Same thing with North Carolina with Mac Brown. Now, Mac Brown's a different situation because Mac Brown is a legend, right? He was a very successful coach at North Carolina before he went to Texas. He's sort of coming home and rebuilding that program. But look at North Carolina was another team that was terrible last year, and they're playing with a renewed purpose. So when you're surrounded by all of these different new head coaches that took over terrible programs with much less talent, and they're doing much better in a shorter time period, it's easy to understand why Florida State's doing what they're doing. So I give my stamp of pigskin Pete approval to what Florida State's doing. Now the question is, where do they go from here? Because there's one of two ways you can go from here. You can go after that big name coach. And Florida State, being the program that they are, being in Florida, surrounded by the best high school talent in America, I have a feeling that they're going to go after a big name. They're going to do like what South Carolina's been trying to do for the past, 15 years. They're going to go after big name coaches that have won national championships that are probably on the last leg of their career. Steve Spurrier, right? And Steve Spurrier's a legend, but let's be honest here. Steve Spurrier never cared about South Carolina. He's a Florida Gator. Yes, he had some great seasons at South Carolina, probably the best seasons they've ever had. But look how he left them. Even Will Muschamp is another example. Will Muschamp is another example of a guy who was a semi-big name, but had a losing pedigree as a head coach at Florida. And we see the same thing happening at South Carolina. So, look, Les Miles at Kansas, another example of this. Look, Florida State and Kansas are not in the same breath. They don't have the same expectations. What is Les Miles good for Kansas? Of course he is. He's the best coach they're ever going to have probably in my lifetime. But Kansas is Kansas. If I were Florida State, I would go after a young guy. When I say young, I mean it doesn't have to be 30 years old or anything. It doesn't have to be Scott Frost. But go after a young guy. A guy who's got vision, a guy who's got a will to build a program. And the guy's got energy to go out there and recruit the state of Florida with the likes of Miami and the University of Florida and UCF and all these, other great teams that are in the state of Florida. So I would go after a group of five guy, maybe a hotshot assistant coach. Listen, this offensive coordinator or offensive staff member at LSU, Joe Brady, that came in there and completely revamped that LSU offense. I'd go after him, number one. Maybe the Cincinnati coach, right? Look, there's a bunch of group of five coaches out there that are legit. There's a bunch of really good coordinators as well. Look, I would not be surprised if they go after one, Brent Venables, which would be smart for them to do, which I hope they don't do that, and I hope he doesn't accept it, which I don't think he would. Or Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator for Clemson. Tony Elliott last year said that Georgia Tech never called him for a job interview. And he would have been very interested in that job because he knows the state of Georgia as far as recruiting very well, right? Everybody knows Clemson gets a lot of their star players from the state of Georgia. So that would have been a great hire for Georgia Tech to take Tony Elliott. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw one of those two or both of those coordinators for Clemson get a phone call in the coming weeks to interview at Florida State. So we'll see what they do. Leave your opinion in the comments section here. Who do you think they're going to go after? A big name or a hotshot coordinator or maybe a young group of five or FCS coach? If it were me, and it's not me, but if it were me, I would go after one of these hotshot young guys and see what they can do. Breathe some new life into that university. Get things on the right track. Anyway, see ya, Willie Taggart. Thanks for nothing except for letting Clemson embarrass you and embarrassing our league. I don't know how much they paid you when you were there. What, $4 million a year probably? You owe them at least $3.5 million of that dollars for embarrassing that university in this league. But anyway, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete's checking out.